Chemistry is a mysterious thing, especially when we're thinking about invention. And when you tinker and you make something and there's this intuitive, maybe if I did this and maybe if I did this. In the mechanical world, we can have maker spaces, we can have the ability to trial and error and do things. But in the chemistry world, more often than not, you have a clear solution that you pour into another clear solution and you can shout eureka, but if you don't have millions of dollars of instruments to measure all that, you can't do it. In my opinion, one of the biggest issues facing our society today is we have a subset of building blocks for the human-built world. And that subset of building blocks have a lot of problems. So we have a lot of designers bolting and welding and screwing and taping and making products to make them be sustainable. But if the fundamental building blocks aren't sustainable, you can't do it. And we need to solve this problem. Invention has to also get into the molecules. We have to unleash the spirit of innovation and creativity in a way that also keeps people safe, because obviously pouring the beakers in the flask has profound risk associated with it that we have to come to terms with. Every year in the United States, we graduate 15,000 undergraduates in chemistry, 3,000 master's degrees, 3,000 doctoral degrees. In 2004, for the first time in history, more women became chemists than men. What could be more important to the field of chemistry than an understanding of reproductive hazards, impacts on human health and the environment? Oh my God. Not one university requires a chemist to take a class in toxicology or environmental mechanisms. Why do you hear in the news that the red dye causes cancer? Why do you hear in the news that a plasticizer causes birth defects? Why do we hear about all these things? This isn't an epic battle of good and evil that industry has these ideas and are just hoarding them for greed. There's something missing from the field of chemistry that a chemist never learns. Why something might be hazardous. Think about that for a second. Of the thousands of molecules that are synthesized every day, that chemist has never had a class in toxicology and environmental mechanisms and might potentially be making the most potent neurotoxin in history, but has no skill set to evaluate it. We need a science to put people together so that they can share and grow this thing. How do you invent something that has minimum impact on human health and the environment? And that is the birth of green chemistry. So we wrote this book. Had I thought anyone would ever read this book, we would have written a better book. But I feel like Forrest Gump, like stunningly, it's been translated into over like 14 different languages. I've been to over 30 countries, presidents, prime ministers, cutting ribbons, giving talks. Something anyone could have written. You turn the pages of this book and go, yep, that's obvious, yep, that's obvious. And you're waiting for something that's interesting. It's just straightforward. Gee whiz, maybe if chemists understood impacts, they could do things. And so green chemistry's kind of taken off, and I'm very, very proud of it. But my definition of green chemistry is a technology that we remove hazard from society. So yes, it has some environmental benefit, but it has to have superior performance and superior cost. The biggest barrier to the adoption of green chemistry technology is the invention in the first place. And if we're not training people to anticipate harm to human health and the environment, where do we go?